Political opposites Finbar Grant and Honorable Donahue Gardner broke the lines of disagreement as both officials, one from the Progressive National Party and the other representing the People's Democratic Movement, joined forces for the popular Monday night show Eye on the TCI. The two men spoke to host Cheryl Shan about the country's future and the governor's recent announcement in which he planned to shake up the government to add reform in light of a recent commission of inquiry which revealed possible signs of corruption and immorality in government officials. Both men gave their response to the controversial suspension of the country's constitution, in which Grant of the PDM stated that the partial suspension is not fully supported by him. However, he feels that there should be reform and an interim government to bring Turks and Caicos back to its glory.
Suspension of the constitution may be another matter, because I think is going to give us a break from this divisiveness. Give us an opportunity to get back together as a people and to see people as persons instead of PNP or PDM.
PNP Chairman Honorable Donahue Gardner said that he had envisioned a change in the way residents view Turks and Caicos politics and asked for post-bipartisanship amongst politicians and local residents. However, Honorable Gardner said he is not one for the suspension of the Constitution despite mounting allegations of corruption against a number of his political affiliates. Honorable Gardner noted that there should have been more assistance from the British government in changing legislations and instituting reform.
Untoward means, then those should be traced, and I'm sure persons would have seen in the Premier's 90-day plan when he, upon assuming office, that certainly he supported that move as well. My problem is this: if it is that the British government is really keen on assisting us in getting over the hump, as it were, then they ought to have dumped on Premier Williams's bandwagon, so to speak, and number one, assist in passing proper elections reform legislation. Number two, assist him or provide him with the assistance that was needed. And all of these things can be instituted without the need to suspend our constitution, our elected government. And so whereas I think a number of the items that were raised in Charlene Cartwright-Robinson's statement are valid, I would certainly not go as far as to say that I would welcome the displacement of the democratic institutions.
Implementing the Order in Council into force will mean the partial suspension of the Constitution. The Order in Council will disable the current government and put the governor in charge. An interim government will also be established. When asked about serving on the interim government, both men had mixed feelings. Honorable Gardner maintained that he does not want to be associated with a, quote, undemocratic establishment, while Grant noted that any possibilities for Turks and Caicos Islanders to be a part of the interim government should be welcomed.
We need to be watching very carefully our Constitution, because there's been mentioned over and over about a new Constitution. We just got a Constitution which will limit the governor's power, give more of our ministers power, and that sort of thing. I think if anything new coming up, they're going to be looking at wanting to increase the governor's powers, limiting the powers of the ministers. I mean, more or less, which might result in a Constitution that they really give the elected body no teeth. I mean, they would be entering administration bounded. That's something that we ought to be very careful about. And if we can sit on the council to help make sure that doesn't happen, then we ought to do that.
For WIV4 News, I'm Angie Toussaint.